Kia ora, Markie here, still with the shaky camera, and we all know why that is, and looking slightly less grizzled and more dastardly, because I'm in my summer plumage, because it's summer here, so slight change of facial fungus. So, just wanted to share some brief thoughts really on the future of retroactive jealousy treatment and what that might look like. Okay, so we have, the good news is there is some academic research going on into RJ with the promise of more. I've been in talks with somebody that's interested in doing some more academic research, so that's all very exciting. That's what we really need, because in the kind of the clinical world, the world of psychology and psychiatry, social work and counselling, the pressure is on to be evidence-based and to do everything, to have an evidence, backup in evidence for everything that you do, and also more information about the nature of the conditions, which is all good. I've talked I went into greater length on issues around science. That psychology is never going to be a pure science. It's not a science because you can't kind of measure things. And one of my concerns is that psychology is kind of starting to kind of kid itself that it is a science, really. But it certainly has a big science component, and the more kind of that kind of evidence-based work we can do, the better. I think we're doing the right things because people are getting better. But what we need is to be able to crystallise that, put that into something that we can put into writing and present as evidence. Also, we need to present evidence to clearly identify that RJ is a condition, not just part of or a symptom of some other condition, that it is a condition in its own right. And I think it is. I think it is a part of obsessive compulsive disorder, but there's some very specific things to RJ. So so some of the things I'd like to see in the future. So first of all, more research, which is kind of on the way. And if there's anybody that you know that's doing a PhD or anything like that is looking for a research topic, please mention this to them, because this would be really helpful stuff at this point. So more research, and so both into treatment and into the nature of the condition, and then more recognition. So as I mentioned in some of the videos, the medicalised kind of side of the mental health world, if you like, works by manuals, diagnostic manuals, and there are two big ones: the DSM-5, which is the American Psychiatric Association. They call it the Chinese menu of mental health disorders, and then there's the World Health Organization, which is the ICD. I always want to call it the OCD, the ICD-10. So every few years these things are updated, and they're working on updating. I presume both of these. I think they're always working on updating. I think it's a bit like the fourth bridge, really. As soon as you finish painting it, you have to start again. So at some point, it would be great to see retroactive jealousy listed in there. Why is that important? Why does it matter? I think the thing is really that the medical profession and the psychiatric mental health profession, often they don't know how to treat people with retroactive jealousy, and certainly talking about the symptoms and talking through what the obsessive elements are will make it worse. So actually a lot of clinicians could potentially make people worse. People come to them and for help, and they either don't get the help, they get misunderstood, or the worst case scenario, a treatment that actually makes it worse, or a treatment that leaves people coming away feeling that there's something wrong with them. That they're not. There's a reason why they're not responding to treatment. Isn't because the treatment isn't right, but it's because it must be my fault. I didn't do it properly, or something like that. Really. So recognition. It's the key thing, really. As soon as people know, people that suffer with retroactive jealousy, as soon as they know it's a thing, it's like, whew, a huge sigh of relief, and immediately, feeling much better. So that's kind of important. So I'm kind of talking. So I'm from a professional background. I'm a psychotherapist. So I'm kind of talking you know, in terms of kind of that side of things. Now, that's not to say that you know, professional disciplines have the monopoly on treating retroactive jealousy, because some of the pioneers of helping people in this field, people like Zachary Stockhill, aren't clinicians. They're not part of you know, a professional mental health discipline or anything of that kind. So that's not to say, you know, I still think there's a role for lay people in this world, really. So what I would like to see, you know, on top of more research into the nature of the condition and treatment, you know, treatment outcomes, treatment evidence, what works best, is and recognition. So it's something that's actually in some of these manuals. What I would like to see, and what I think needs to happen, is probably some kind of organisation, you know, a kind of a professional body, if you like, that embraces people that work in this field and ensures quality. So, for example, you know, there are professional bodies. I was on a founding member of the governing council for the British Association of Gender Identity Specialists, and that was an umbrella organisation which covered a huge range of professions. So we were kind of we were working with some members included surgeons, people that provided diagnosis. So, you know, all kinds of doctors, you know, from endocrinologists to GPs, speech and language therapists, people that did facial hair removal, occupational therapists, loads of things really, psychotherapists, psychiatric and general nurses. I probably missed a load out because there's a very wide range of professions that work in that field. And it was an organisation that was embraced all of those different professions, and recognised, you know, the differences, but also for each profession kind of had a kind of a benchmark of, you know, what somebody, a good quality, reliable practitioner in that field should have in order to be a good practitioner for, you know, members of the public that they're serving, for clients that they're serving. So I think, you know, we could see something like that, some kind of professional body for retroactive jealousy practitioners, and that would include different professions, including I guess, you know, people that aren't. You know, I wouldn't see that as excluding people that aren't clinicians. I would see, you know, a category for that, and I think, you know, people would kind of come into the category of kind of specialist mentor. I think that's what I would include that under. So no way do I want to kind of denigrate the work or the importance or the validity of people who aren't, you know, part of a clinical profession. You know, I think there's a place for. There's a place for them in this organisation as much as there is for anyone else. So a body which you know, so it would have a website and would publish research or summarise research on the website, would give good information on the website as to what the problem is, and, you know, so somebody can kind of retroactive jealousy could find the website, get lots of helpful advice and information, and then maybe a director of practitioner members. You know, that would include you know, clinicians and lay people, and you know, and to get to the point where we're able to provide training, we're able to, you know, maybe have conferences. So, you know, I think it's an international thing, so it'd be a world organisation. And for example, I'm a member of ANZATSA, which is Australia New Zealand Association of Sexual Abuse. Oh, I'm tired. I can't remember the exact acronym. I should be able to work it out, shouldn't I, from the letters? And they have, you know, a biannual conference. You know, and 1 year it's in New Zealand, or, you know, one time it's in New Zealand, then it's in Australia, and people, you know, speakers come from all over the world to that, and share sort of latest research and that kind of thing. So this would be, beneficial to everyone, really beneficial to practitioners, beneficial to researchers and people that want to do more research in the field. Maybe it's sort of with membership fees, it's something that we could actually start to fund research, maybe even commission research, have conferences. So I think that to me that is the way forward for retroactive jealousy, and the biggest, one of the big benefits of these kind of organisations is they weed out charlatans, because one of the things that I've been aware of in this last year is I haven't been fully abreast of all the. This curtain's really annoying me. Look, I can see that in the background, and that's bugging me. That's better. Talk about OCD. I wasn't fully abreast of all the details of this, but I was aware on one of the Facebook Internet Fora for RJ, there were some concerns about people kind of selling treatment, and I couldn't ever really get to the bottom of it. But the suggestion was, or the hint was, that somebody on there was perhaps taking advantage of people. Not trying to sell something that maybe wasn't particularly helpful, or maybe had ripped off somebody else's work, or were presenting it in such a way that there were kind of false claims or over optimistic claims or something. And like I said, I never got into the details of this. I want to be careful not to get dragged into anything, but I was aware of conversations that were saying this about at least one practitioner, if practitioner is the right word. It might have been just somebody that had written a book or something like this. But the very fact that whether there was something behind this or not, and I don't know, the very fact is that that if people are feeling that anxiety, that there are kind of sharks out there trying to rip people off by kind of selling them snake oil treatments for retroactive jealousy, that's really bad. And therefore, one of the great things about a governing body, kind of umbrella organisation that you can be a member of, is that it does kind of it doesn't ensure quality, because you can never fully ensure quality, but you can set the bar reasonably high for membership, so that and somebody would have to be so, for example, if someone wants to be a member, they would have to be they'd have to be have a recommendation from another member. So if somebody's kind of very much in isolation and practicing in an unethical way, and there's nobody that can vouch for them on any level, and so it would ask very exacting questions, and there'd be some verification of both qualification with, perhaps with a small q, because some people, let's say, won't be professionals, but they will have qualifications in that, they say, well, I've written this book, I've done this X amount of work, I've written these articles, I've helped X number of people, I've got testimonials from people that I've helped. That's qualification, in that field. So so it'd be both ethics and qualification, that would be to some degree tested, for people that would be members of this organisation. Now, at the moment, as far as I'm aware, all the kind of disparate people that work with retroactive jealousy are in isolation and don't really talk to each other, which I think is unfortunate. I think that's sad. Because I think there are so many people that need help. I know a lot of us do this for a living. Which is absolutely fine. Sometimes people criticise therapists for, they think we're kind of like vultures that feed off the needy. But we all do stuff for a living. What do you do for a living? We all do something to pay our bills. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with earning a living from helping people with retroactive jealousy. The more people that do it, the better, really, as long as you're providing a good service and a genuine service. That's all well and good. So. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, the practitioners that are doing this are not really communicating. I've had a limited amount of communication with, I won't name names, but with other people in the field. I have to say I've had not as warm and welcoming a response as I would like. And I don't mean anything more by that. That's not a euphemism. I'm trying to kind of put things very kind of accurately, really. So I haven't had a hostile response, but sometimes offers of cooperation haven't been welcomed or accepted, which I think is sad. I'm very open to cooperating with other practitioners. I think that the time is coming very fast where we are going to need to work together for the benefit of the future sufferers of retroactive jealousy. This problem isn't going to go away. It's probably going to get worse. I think most things are getting worse at the moment because sort of people's mental health is generally not good these days, and there's various reasons for that. So I think it is time that we start to work together and think. And I suppose what I was saying with the working for a living thing is I think there's a mentality of competition. That if I cooperate with somebody else, they'll get a certain share of the market and I'll get less money and so on. Which I think is crazy, really. It's a kind of, it's a very... I did a video on scarcity thinking in connection with retroactive jealousy, so you might want to check that one out. But that's kind of a scarcity kind of mentality, really. There are so many people, I think, out there in the world starving for, the correct professional help for retroactive jealousy and not getting it. And, as far as I'm aware, there's, 4, maybe 5 people offering help in the world, so it's not kind of get all kind of panicky about our share of the market here. It's time we actually we need to work together for the benefit of professional standards, for our own good practice, our own professional integrity, but for the most part for clients, and there's plenty of clients that we don't have to be kind of thinking, oh, I'm not going to cooperate. We need to work together. One of the areas where I particularly wanted to cooperate with other practitioners, and I was sad that this didn't come off, is I did I've created a forum for partners of people with retroactive jealousy, a Facebook forum, and I've had quite slow responses to that, really. It still hasn't got a great deal of members, and it's not really working because people aren't communicating on there. And I think it's and I keep looking at different ways that I can kind of inject life into that and make that a helpful resource. But and that's one of the things that I wanted to engage the other practitioners in, which they weren't kind of willing to cooperate with, which I think is really sad. So it was a non-profit making thing. No money, no kind of cash comes into Markie's coffers through that. It was, a free Facebook forum for any partner of people with retroactive jealousy. And I'm a great believer in that. My background I've got a big background in working in addiction, and one of the key learnings I got from that really is that addiction, these things operate in the family or in the relationship, and if you don't actually work with the whole unit, then often you don't ever. Sometimes then you can't make any real headway into the problem, and the sufferer won't get better if you don't do some work with the partner. So, I'm not saying that it's impossible and you won't ever get anywhere with your retroactive jealousy if your partner's not involved in treatment as well. But what I'm saying is that if your partner is involved in treatment or some kind of support, some kind of program, some kind of awareness building activity, then that will accelerate the recovery of the sufferer as well. So that's something that I wanted to, that I was disappointed with, really. And I would like to have seen kind of cooperation with. And it doesn't have to, at the moment, it's a Facebook group that because I'm so for those of you that know me and follow the channel, one of the reasons that, the camera's the wrong way around and it's shaky camera and, it's kind of, non-scripted, is that I suffer with, that's not the right word, is that I'm neurodiverse, which means a number of things. One is ADHD, so I'm very impulsive, do things in the spur of the moment. I'm not very good if I plan things ahead, then they tend not to happen. And I'm not very good with tech because I have dyscalculia. So it would probably be better. This forum is such a good idea. The problem I've got at the moment is it's hosted on through my personal Facebook, and in order for somebody to come on there, then they've got to Facebook friend me, or at least I think invite me on Messenger in order for me to be able to invite them onto the forum, which kind of brings kind of boundary issues into. There's ways around that, that's not as big a problem as that might seem really, but it's possibly not the best platform for the forum. There might be a better platform for that. So I don't mind if somebody if somebody was to say, Mark, look, I'll help you with that, and let's work together, and I'll host it on this better platform, and we can all refer people into it. We'll keep it as a free resource that all practitioners can refer clients into. Then I'm quite happy. It doesn't need to be my my personal little kind of thing. What I'm interested in is making that service available to people, and I don't care how it's done. So I'm not possessive of that. So hopefully some of the other practitioners will be watching. If you're a layperson who's not a practitioner or doesn't offer services in retroactive jealousy, I'd say always think about again in addiction recovery in the 12-step model. One of the key things, the 12th step, the mystical final 12th step, is when you've got your recovery, is to help other people. That's the only way. They say the only way to keep it is to hand it on. So we do need we need good lay people, and you don't have to do anything anything that's beyond your comfort level. But just to share, one of the big things about AA and the 12-step movements work almost entirely on people sharing their experience. They call it experience, strength, and hope. So there's a role for everyone, and I think there's definitely a role for lay people in this. So if you've reached a point of recovery, then you have a role to play. And this is where all the different fora come into play. It's really important. We really need to hear your stories. So there's a role for recovered people with retroactive jealousy, and there's a role for anyone that offers services or support in this area. And I think it's time we. And I'm saying it's time we talk together. I haven't been massively proactive in doing this. I've had limited conversations with other people, so I'm not saying that I've made huge efforts, and because I haven't, I've been concentrating on the work side of it really. I've also kind of changed countries, which has been quite a big draw on my kind of time and energy, and also I work full time in another related field. I have a number of specialisms, generally around kind of sexual issues of one kind or another, sex and gender, I guess, really, is for the most part, but other things as well. So it's not like I'm kind of full time, thinking about retroactive jealousy from 9 to 5 and planning ways forward. I'm not really. I do what I can when I can, really. I've got to the extent now that I'm not able to see everybody that refers in looking for therapy, and I pass them on to an excellent practitioner that we've got who called Hadley Amaru at the moment. He's our lead counsellor, and he's getting some great results with people. But yeah, so I don't want to come from I don't want to give the wrong impression here and say, oh look, I've approached all these people and I want to get together and make these things happen, but they're putting up roadblocks. That's not the impression that I want to give really. But the impression I guess a fair statement would be the main people in the field, to my knowledge, haven't really come together in a useful or helpful way yet. And I'm very open to working alongside those people, and in future, if I get more time available, it's something that maybe I'll be a bit more proactive in. At the moment, I guess I'm kind of it's more an expression of willingness really. So this is a kind of aspirational video really. This isn't me presenting a plan. Certainly isn't me kind of presenting, outcomes. I'm not saying this is, this is what we've done, and so there's a lot to be done. The field is completely, and it's exciting being in a new field. The field is completely new. There's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people that now know about retroactive jealousy that didn't because of the work that's been done by some of the forerunners in the field, like Zachary Stockhill, which is fantastic. And there are still thousands and thousands of people out there that have no idea that there is such a thing as retroactive jealousy, but who are suffering from it. And I think it's our kind of duty, really, if you like, to do what we can together to get that message out there. So if you want to get in touch, you can leave a comment below. If you go on the website, there's a method for contacting us. It has been problematic, so apologies for that. So emails, messages that were sent on the contact us section on the website weren't getting to me, which is terrible, and I feel awful about that. But that is now remedied. So if in the past you've tried to contact me by the website and you thought, that kind of awfully rude person has completely ignored me, then we haven't, and I'm really, really sorry. I hope you managed to get through to us in some other way. So yeah, the future, the potential for building, something very solid and useful and helpful to people in this field. We are the sum is bigger than the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. I hope you like my vision. Okay, and maybe you've got a different vision, or maybe you've got some thoughts on this vision, or maybe you can help in some way or other. Let me know. Okay, but just something to hopefully start some discussion and get the ball rolling. Even if it's even if it rolls slowly, I'm kind of cool with that, really, because like I say, I'm very busy, and I've got other commitments as well. So even if it rolls slowly, I'm happy with that, as long as it begins to roll. Really, it needs to roll. It can't remain still any longer. Really, I think the point has come where we need to be moving in this direction. So let me know what you think. Rangi Mario.